President Biden is meeting with the families of WNBA star Brittney Griner and former Marine Paul Whelan. The White House says both Americans are being wrongfully detained in Russia. Earlier today, National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby answered questions about the prisoner exchange the U.S. proposed to Russia.
They have not responded to our offer. We have made a serious offer to get Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan back home. The Russians have not responded to that offer, but that doesn't mean that we're not still in negotiations and we're not still trying.
Let's bring in foreign policy expert and fellow at the Jones Sloan Dickey Center for International Understanding at Dartmouth College, Dr. Danny Gilbert. Thank you for joining us here on ABC News Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So our White House correspondent, Karen Travers, actually pressed John Kirby and asked him if part of the goal of publicizing these meetings here today was to put more pressure on Russia to accept that U.S. offer. And Kirby actually responded saying the primary goal of the meeting today is to be able to update the families and keep them completely apprised of where we are in the process. So, Danny, what do you make of what John Kirby said there, and why do you think this process is taking so long?
So there's a couple points there. So first of all, these processes, unfortunately, tragically, often take a very long time. When Americans are wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad, they might be gone from the United States for months, if not years. And that's because we're dealing with some of our worst adversaries on the world stage. It's not just a matter of what the United States is willing to do to bring our citizens home, but whether or not a state like Russia is willing to accept the offers we put on the table. And so it's super unfortunate that this is taking so long, but it's not surprising to me. On the other hand, the reason that we might have a meeting like this is so that the president can sit down and talk with these families and empathize with them. President Biden has an entire story of what it's like to lose a family member. So it's a great opportunity for him to get in the room with them, to hear more about their loved one, and to assure them personally that the United States government is working behind the scenes to bring their loved ones back as quickly as possible.
Yeah, John Kirby saying that the president is not going to let up here. Let me ask you this. You know, we saw what happened with Trevor Reed, Dr. Gilbert. So how does this measure up to Trevor Reed's release when you see what's happening here? That release again happened in March. The former Marine had been detained since 2019. The State Department spokesperson Ned Price said the U.S. put in a substantial proposal for Griner and Whelan that we just mentioned. So what's the difference here between these cases and Reed's?
So Trevor Reed had been imprisoned, as you mentioned, since 2019, and his health was failing in a very serious way. Sometimes we see that these cases are resolved when the United States is worried that our citizen might not make it home, that they are going to expedite the process to push along a deal that might already be on the table to make sure that our citizens aren't suffering and facing those kinds of serious health consequences while they're in prison. But Trevor Reed's family got a meeting with the White House shortly after they protested publicly. And so that is a lesson for all hostage families, that when they bring that kind of protest and advocacy to the American public, that they might have a chance to sit down with the president of the United States. So we don't know the precise content of the offer that the United States government has put on the table, but I would expect it to be of a similar nature, something like a prisoner swap, of the kinds of difficult political concessions that the United States government makes to bring our people back.
But what other cards can the U.S. play here to get Griner and Whelan home? Because it feels like Russia has the advantage here.
Russia does have the advantage here, plain and simple. Hostage taking works, and they are showing that it's a really effective way to get the United States to offer concessions and to create political turmoil, to create a difficult situation for the White House and for the president. One of the things that this administration has started doing, which shifts the conversation and changes the way that they deal with hostage recovery, is to start to put some punishment mechanisms on the table as well. The United States has released a new set of travel warnings that the State Department is listing countries where Americans are likely to be wrongfully detained abroad. And the president announced a new series of sanctions for anyone responsible for or complicit in the wrongful detention of an American abroad.
Yeah, meantime, those Americans there are detained in Russia, and as you mentioned, wrongfully detained there. Dr. Danny Gilbert, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.